Cool. So this is a quick framework that is, that was shared on many of the thought leadership when it comes to FP&A and finance business partnering. Three critical things important for good finance business partnering is insights, building relationships, and understanding the business. Right? And insights, data to insights, we have talked about this a little bit in the last class. Building relationships and understanding the business is what we'll be discussing today. So let's look at some of the aspects which will help us understand about this. So first, when it comes to developing business acumen, I conducted an interesting survey and I asked the CFOs as to what do you think today's finance and accounting professionals or young finance and accounting professionals lack when they start their careers. And interestingly, I thought most of them would vote for communication skills or something like that. Interestingly, more than 46% of the CFOs voted business acumen to be missing in today's finance professionals. So what is business acumen? So business acumen is defined as keenness and quickness in understanding and dealing with a business situation in the manner that is likely to lead to a good outcome. So now here, there are multiple components in this definition, right? So one is it's keenness and quickness. It's not just about your Excel sheets or your domain knowledge. You have to be able to correlate the entire business operations with the numbers that you are working on. So when I took on my first role with Bharat Petroleum, the most amazing thing for me was to observe how 15,000 people company is running together. Now, how all of these people are working together for one single objective, and how processes are derived and how all this is functioning. And so that was a big learning for me. And that is the curiosity that I had. And it's important that you be curious about things. Otherwise, you will just be cocooned to your Excel sheet. You won't be able to really visualize yourself in the larger picture. So when you're looking at business acumen, always try and look at the larger picture as a business and then try and drill down how it is relating to your role. That is when you will find your role to be more meaningful. Otherwise, you will always feel that you are doing some VLOOKUPs here and there, which don't know how they are adding up into the larger picture. So now, how to develop business acumen, right? So business acumen has two components. To deconstruct this definition of business acumen, there are two components in this. One is business literacy and the other one is acumen. Now, business literacy is all about understanding the organization as a whole, understanding the importance of various departments within the company, big picture business model, who are our top 5 customers, what are our top 5 products, where is the 80% of revenue coming from, what are our top 5 costs which are accounting for 80% of the cost, industry understanding, right? So which are the major players, who are our top 3 competitors, immediately follow the competitors on LinkedIn, be aware of what's happening on the competition side as well, because that will help you connect with other cross-functional teams. If you're talking to the sales head and you're quoting a reference, what a competitor action has been taken recently, it will help you connect with the business team. It will help you display that you are also updated with what's happening in the market and you're not just sitting with your Excel sheet. The acumen part is your ability to make good judgments, and it's your comprehensive understanding of your profitability, your cash flow, and also it's your ability to foresee certain complexities. Now, like for example, I can give you a couple of examples here. So when I started working with advertising and marketing industry, right? So over the last 10 years, I was CFO in advertising and marketing industry, and one thing I noticed is that I could understand by the kind of contract conversation where it is heading. So if the contract is being discussed clause by clause, and if the nature of that client is that he's very picky, then to some extent, I used to warn the servicing team that, see, this guy is going to be very picky. They will, at the very first chance that they get, they will pick some point in the contract, they will hold our money and they will sack us. So these kind of vibes you can get when you start working in a certain industry. The other example was that in a certain geography, in a certain country that I was working with, there was always customer defaults. They never used to pay on time. When they said 60 days, it means they will pay in 120 days. Once I learned this, what we did was we started building in a slight finance cost in the pricing itself. So when we are negotiating terms with the client, instead of quoting $5,000, we used to say $5,200. And this helped us factor that extra 60 days credit or 90 days credit that the client generally ends up asking. It's not client specific, but it's generally market specific, or some geographies are slow in paying and they are not really committed to the time that they quote. These kind of complexities you should be able to visualize. The other thing is that acumen is also about your scenario planning. If you hit a certain sales, then what's going to happen? If you don't hit a certain sales, then what are your backups? What costs you can cut or what can you optimize? You need to be ready with all of these things. When you reach that stage, if you already know what action needs to be taken, let's say we lost one of our biggest clients, what needs to be done now? If that kind of a backup is already kept ready, it need not necessarily be approved by anybody, approved by CEO or anything, but you can keep things ready in the background. And if you reach that stage, you can of course say, hey, we have reached this stage. This is a big problem. Solution 1 is this. Solution 2 is this. Solution 3 is this. What do we opt for? And the CEO probably would pick one solution and you move forward. So that's the acumen part of it. So it's a combination of business literacy and your judgment, your acumen as well. How to develop business acumen? Like I said, there are two components, right? So one is business literacy, and this can always be learned with the data that is available with you. So knowing your numbers is always something which is very important, and finance professionals are naturally good at that. Reading annual reports beyond the financials. Our natural inclination is to just go to the profit and loss account and balance sheet or cash flow statement and then end it there. But what we also need to understand is read things beyond the financial statements in the annual report. Go to the management discussion and analysis part where the CEO is talking about the industry, what has been the challenges in the industry, how they see how they see the upcoming financial year. All of those things can be read, especially if you're a listed company. Then these management discussion and analysis section is pretty exhaustive, and you can go through it and understand a lot about your industry as well. Follow industry updates. Let's say, for example, if your top 10 customers account for 80% of the business, it's important that you track these 10 customers. I remember in one of the career coaching calls that I was doing, there was this girl who had taken an FP&A course from us, and she recently changed her job and she was working with some US company, and there was a CFO in the US. She was in his team. He wanted to track all the customers' financials and rate the customers. He had given her a list of 20 top customers which accounted for 80% of the revenue, and then her job was to track the financial statements, make sure that the competitors are the customers are in a healthy position. If you come across a negative news about a customer, let's say a certain government ban has been imposed on one of the customers, how does that going to impact our sales, our forecast, our budget, as well as the collections that are pending from them? This kind of a industry understanding is very, very important, especially when you get senior, so that you can influence the business teams as to what corrective steps need to be taken. So be aware of your industry updates, follow all the industry magazines, be part of the industry forums, right? Know your competitors, customers, partners, or the entire environment where your company is operating in. Cross-functional interaction. So it's not just your internal team relationship. It's always important that you to maintain strong cross-functional relationships, and it can happen with any other teams. Like, for example, I used to always maintain strong relationships with taxation teams and legal teams. Legal teams used to help me finalize client contracts, very quickly. Otherwise, they used to take a 4 to 5 day turnaround time. Because of my strong relationships, I can request for urgent turnaround or some quick turnaround of some contracts, and it used to help me build that stronger relationship with the business head or the CEO as well, right? Because I used to spend a lot of time on that. I used to make sure that I take out the legal team for lunch, maybe once a quarter or something, because I was a CFO, I had the budgets with me, so I can use in these kind of things. So cross-functional interaction and relationships is absolutely important. So that's your knowledge of the literacy part of business acumen. Now, when it comes to acumen, it's a skills game, right? So it can come with practice. You need to experiment a lot. You need to leverage your own experience. Many times, it has also happened that, let's say, for example, so there was once a certain airline client, okay, where we were pitching for, as an advertising agency, we were pitching for an airline client. And this client pitch came to us, said that one of the things, what happened in the contract negotiation was that they were negotiating too hard on the 60 days credit. So we had requested for 30 days credit. We even offered them 45 days credit, but they were requesting for 60 days credit. So that triggered some doubt in my mind, because airlines generally are not very profitable, and it's not a very profitable industry. So what I did was made a couple of calls to my colleagues who are still working in Bharat Petroleum, and I called them and asked them, hey, who's the aviation finance manager now, or who's the aviation FP&A lead? I got some number, I contacted, and it happened to be one of my batchmates who had joined with me in Bharat Petroleum. And then I called this guy and said that, hey, is there any customer outstanding from this airline for you? And said, we used to give them 30 days credits, but they continuously defaulted, and now we have put them on cash basis, which means the aviation fuel that they buy from Bharat Petroleum is now on cash basis, and Bharat Petroleum has refused to give them any credit. Now, this was a red flag, and we then went back to the business head and said that, okay, let's not take a retainer with this client. Instead, let's offer them a 6-month project. And this 6 months project, let's say if it is priced at $10,000, we'll say, hey, $5,000 you pay us in advance, $5,000 you can pay after 60 days or after the completion of the project. So we turned this retainer. Generally, the intention is to turn a project into a retainer, right? But in this case, we had to go the other way around to make sure our money is secured and and we don't end up over servicing this client, and then we end up with a big outstanding which we are not able to recover. So that's why we turned this into from a retainer to a project, and then we collected 50% upfront. So that gave us some comfort to move forward. So these kind of things, these kind of adjustments you may have to do, and it will only come with practice. So these things you can suggest only if you're aware of the environment which you're operating in, right? And you're looking at your role beyond just your Excel sheets regularly as part of your profile. Okay, cool. So I think there is one more. So business acumen, to sum up, is not some one thing, right? So if I tell you, okay, do X, Y, Z, and you will get business acumen, right? Or your business acumen will improve. It's not as straightforward as that. It's a complex combination of multiple aspects of business. It's your business knowledge, your industry understanding, your relationship with within the company. All of these things come together, and then they enhance your business acumen, right? It's a complex combination of multiple aspects rather than just looking at one single skill, which is business acumen.